Hi, and welcome to the video where I show you all of my art supplies. I've been getting a few comments here and there over the past year or so on what kind of art supplies I use, particularly my paints and canvases. So I thought I'd give you a little tour on all of the art supplies that I use to finish my paintings. Everything. Materials, art supplies, tools, everything. I use this brand called Camel. And it's a pretty good brand for beginners. It's cheap. I live in India, so this is a pretty popular brand here. I have used Winsor & Newton in the past, and that's a really good brand as well. As a beginner, I'd suggest don't get too many tubes of paint. Just get 3 primary colors. I mean, this is, in my opinion, the best way. I'd suggest getting 3 primary colors: cadmium red, cadmium yellow, and ultramarine blue, and titanium white. You don't even need black. You can get black if you want, depending on your style, but you can mix something super close to black. I see a lot of people buying these sets of 12 assorted colors, and I just never agreed with that because seeing all these options can be so confusing, and learning to mix from just those 3 colors can teach you a lot about color theory. So I would highly recommend just getting those 3 colors and titanium white. So right now I'm a year and a half into my painting journey, and I use quite a wide variety of brushes, and half of these are unusable. Like, this is stiff, I should throw them out. But as a beginner, same with the paints, you just need like a set of 3 to 4 paint brushes. And I'm assuming that you're going to be working on a smaller canvas as a beginner since you're practicing. I'm not an expert on paint brushes, but I have always used flat brushes and they've worked pretty well for me. And I use this size 4 paintbrush and a size 2, which is in the wash, and this smaller one, which I think is either a 0 or a 00 for detail. But if you plan on starting out on smaller canvases, yeah, you don't need a lot of brushes, and the smaller they are, the more you can focus on detail. So I would recommend not worrying too much about getting a wide range of paintbrushes. Try to focus more on technique and applying the paint for now. This is dirty and I have to clean it, but this is my palette knife, and I sometimes use this to mix the colors on my palette or to apply it onto the canvas in my more abstract works. But yeah, this is also a very handy tool, and you can get one of these. They're very convenient for mixing on your palette. Next up is this nightmare of a palette. This is my disgusting, super overfilled with color palette. And it's supposed to be this way because you're going to be mixing a lot of colors. And you need something that's portable and not too heavy, but also has enough surface area for you to mix a good number of colors on. So it's as simple as that. So, stressing on the heavy thing, the reason why I say not too heavy is because when I started out, I took this random board, and it's really heavy to carry, so when I'm standing and painting, it just tires you out a lot, so I suggest getting something lighter. I forgot to mention this is a plastic palette, but you can get it in glass, I believe, and wood. Wood palettes are very widely available. But yeah, this is a plastic palette. I don't know the difference between all of them. Oh, I got paint on my finger. I don't know the difference between all of them, but I got this plastic palette as a gift, so I've been using it ever since. I also use this as a palette. Sometimes this is like the lid of a box, and I have clipped butter paper onto the inside of the lid because sometimes I run out of space here and everything is wet and I don't want the colors to get muddy. So I just stick a new sheet of butter paper on here and I begin mixing. So the next thing is something that I wish I knew when I started out. I wish I knew that I should prime my canvases because it helps with the adhesion of the paint to the surface. Most of the surfaces you're painting on have this grainy texture, and it's annoying because you want a smoother texture, but it just feels like you're painting over an uneven ceiling. So this helps with that. It fills in the gaps, and you can take it a step further and use sandpaper. So the way you go about this is you paint a smooth layer of gesso on your canvas or whatever you're painting on, and then you wait for an hour or so, or even 30 minutes I believe, but I just wait for an hour to be on the safe side, and then you paint another layer, and then you can use sandpaper and smooth it out, and this will help the paint bond with the surface even better. So you'll have a smooth surface, and B, a painting that might last much longer. Sometimes you can use a layer of gesso and an acrylic. I use neon orange paint because it contrasts with a lot of the colors I use. Sometimes, let's say for example, I'm painting clouds and the canvas is already white. It's difficult to separate all the hues and shades from each other. It's really a struggle to make it look realistic if the background is already white. So sometimes you need a nice visual contrast. People pick all sorts of different colors. I use neon orange. It works best for me because most of my paintings have a warm color scheme and it makes it look vibrant. The next one is not an obvious one. You literally don't have to buy it, but you can take an old rag or a cloth or a t-shirt, because when you're painting, you don't want your brush to get muddy and you can't exactly dip the brush into water to clean it. When it comes to oil painting, you have to wipe it on the cloth. When you're cleaning your paintings after you're done painting, you can use dishwashing soap and water, or there are paint thinners. I don't use those, I use dishwashing soap and water. You can get a dirty rag or a cloth and just wipe it. This is optional, but I highly recommend it. You can have a separate set of clothes or an apron to wear while you're painting so your clothes don't get dirty. But yeah, if you want to keep things clean, it really helps. So first of all, you need to know what a medium is. I didn't know when I started out, and that's okay. Mediums are basically these liquids that you can add to your oils to make them thinner so that they apply on the canvas smoother. And sometimes people want like a thin layer of the paint, like the color, over what they're painting, and linseed oil helps with that. Sometimes oil paints can be a little thick and the viscosity is too high to be applied smoothly, so linseed oil, that's what I'm using. There's a lot of different kinds of mediums, but this works really well with oil paints. So yeah, you can get linseed oil for thinning out your paints a little, and they're not too expensive. A lot of people would expect that you just paint on cloth canvas that is ready-made at the store to buy, but you can also make your own canvases. I don't do that, but there are probably a lot of videos on YouTube teaching you how, so if you need to, you can go check them out. But what I do is I go into a shop for laser cutting and I ask them to cut whatever size I want of an MDF board, and it costs me less. Like let's say I bought a canvas for $5. The MDF board for the same size and shape, it'll be cut by literally half or maybe even less. So if I buy a $5 canvas, I'll get my MDF board for like $2.5. And the best thing about getting an MDF board laser cut is you get a custom size. You don't have to worry about looking for the right size. You can just go into the shop, tell them the dimensions you want, and they'll cut it accordingly. And where I come from, I live in India, you can sort of bargain the price, and if you're a regular customer, that helps too. I've also used wood planks. I've asked neighbors or friends if they have spare wood. I've asked neighbors or friends if they have spare planks of wood, and in that way you get a free surface to paint on. But I moved on from that and now I paint mostly on MDFs and cloth canvas. So that's pretty much it for the art supplies that I use for my painting. If you found this video helpful, do give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!